so excited to kick off this week's Stories with Artists. We're basically calling it a little tour across America. We're getting to visit with different artists who are sharing their creative platforms with us. Our mission is to just highlight what the creative arts are in the world, because as most of you know, or maybe you don't know, I launched a nonprofit here in Nashville called heArt Studios. And we exist to break the generational cycles of abuse and trauma by transforming the heart through creative expression. We do so by partnering with different artists who are able to walk alongside youth impacted by domestic violence and trauma. And this week we have a full array of different artists who are coming to us in all different industries. To kick it off, we got this girl here. Me! Lindsay comes to us with an amazing background in music, but I think she's actually sitting on our board and has been super active and involved in just speaking out and advocating for what the creative arts industry does for a healing process.
Hi, well, first of all, I'm honored to be on the board for heArt Studios, and I think that there's, we all have, as artists and creatives, there's only so much you can really put your time into so that you can still focus on your craft, but then you also really want to get, we do this creative work ultimately on this planet, I think, so that we can give back and connect to each other and just, and that's why we're here. So when you find things that inspire you, as an artist, being able to use platforms like this and this beautiful network you've created is really important to use that just as a connection and a platform to learn and teach and grow all together. So I love that you've created a space that is all-encompassing for the arts in general, because at the end of the day, we're all creators, and no matter what it is you do, if you have a thought, you're a creator. As I'm learning now, after being in Nashville for 14 years, I was in Los Angeles for 7 years prior to that. I'm from Texas by way of Oklahoma, where I worked in Dallas for a long time in radio, and then radio in Los Angeles, and then have done music full-time in Nashville, and that's catapulted to so many other things. And I think a lot of artists in Nashville and all over the world are waking up to realize right now that we really have power is in our hands. We can be our own brand and our own business, and I don't want to say so much that it's not about needing or using the middleman or labels or all these other things, but as artists, we're able to just own our craft now. And so to me, that's really exciting, teaching youth and showing youth that you need to know all aspects of your art and what you're bringing to the table, and know that you have the power and you don't have to rely on other people to get your art out in the world. To rely on yourself.
I feel like that's a wrap, y'all. She
Tell
just said
of the
it all
day.
in a great nugget.
I have no idea what I said.
No, but for those of you that do know Lindsay, I mean, your passion speaks for itself. Whether you're on stage or you're on the radio or you're out in a crowd introducing somebody, you just have this natural gift of being able to share somebody's story. But what you're talking about, it's like infectious, contagious. Everybody just wants to get involved. And I don't think that you can train yourself to have that gifting. But when did little Lindsay figure out that she had a gift of either song or music or production
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm at 42 years old now, just continuing daily to find the confidence to say what I need to say or what I want to say. But I mean, from a little age, my parents always, I'll never forget, my parents for some reason always took us for spring break to like spring break party places. Like my family would go to at like 7 years old, we'd go to Cancun and Panama City and South Padre. And I would always sneak off like on the beach. So we'd always end up where MTV for some reason was filming, like MTV Spring Break.
Of course.
And I would wander off, and multiple times my parents found me at like Yo MTV Spring Break, like on the stage. They clearly didn't watch me close enough, but I would always sneak off and just find like what was interesting or going on. I mean, I always say too that my sister probably has a complex because it was always me in the background, like, Daddy, take me at like everything of my sister's, any performance. I was always like the lurking in the background, like trying to be on camera. And then I grew up in Texas, like, I was never a trained singer. I'm still not that. I'm a performer and entertainer, and that's what I identify with the most. But so I grew up with, I guess hashtag balance, singing in church and at bars, you know. So got a little bit of both worlds. But from that comes the experience of just knowing how to work any crowd, I think. Sing at church for a Sunday morning. The night before I was in, you know, country showdown contests. And I moved to LA where those stages are very different from now Nashville stages I'm on. So just, I think the diversity of constantly putting yourself in different scenarios, on different stages, in front of different people, and then worked in radio, played the Sunset Strip, toured with a rock band. That's straight off of in college where I was song chair at my sorority. I moved to Nashville and was thrown on stage at Tootsie's Honky Tonks downtown, where you don't know what you're getting on stage to do. As opposed to if, you know, you're touring with a band or you're getting up for a set performance, you know your set list and you're rehearsed in what you're doing. That's not the case in Nashville for the most part downtown. And so I was literally thrown to the wolves where they're like, hey, welcome to town. What are you singing? What key do you do it in? And I remember just being like, I don't even know what they're talking about. But that taught me a whole nother thing, to be flexible, and then you read a crowd and figure out what do they want to hear now. I mean, reading the room is really important, and it's a lost art because people sometimes forget we're there to entertain. So give the people what they want. That's a legit statement.
Because as a spectator, I mean, I never went downtown Broadway or any honky-tonking, but like if I did, I was the spectator, and I want you to sing the songs I know. And that's half true, half false, because I always love a good songwriter and a songwriter story, but I also want to just, you know, belt top of my lungs singing a song out there, and I would never think about what you were going through on stage to what you had to do to get to that point. I'm just like, sing my song. Yeah. I gave you my money, sing my song. But then there's so much that's leading up to that point, and we as spectators might not think about that. That's resonates with me as far as what the studio is going to be about, because these kids are going to, we hope, the goal of it is that they're able to produce showcases. So artists from all different genres, whether it be photography, film, dance, music, design, work together to produce 2 showcases a year. And they'll be able to do it to the community and the people that have invested in their lives and sponsors of the studio. But I think what's really beautiful and similar to being thrown to the wolves on stage is that they had a story prior to them getting there. And they had a story leading up to what that looks like. And our goal and our hope and our mission is to be able to be that safe space for them, to not feel like they're being thrown to the wolves, but that we're opening up the doors for them to be able to share a story in a really, really secure, safe way. And it's not like that out in the world. And so, you know, our ultimate mission is to be able to empower them to take it on as a profession and prepare them for what lies ahead. And I know there's tons of stories you could go into.
Yeah. And you just, to back up real quick, you just said it. I mean, you just nailed it, to create in a safe space. That's the thing I say a lot, and if my dad sees this, I don't know if he's ever heard me say this, but I say a lot that when I really felt successful is when my parents stopped asking me what my backup plan was. I didn't grow up in a family of musicians. So it was never really, not that I wasn't, I mean, my family's always supported me 100%. But they didn't really know what to do with an entertainer child that was instilled in them. I mean, my dad's a hoot. Got the musical,
hey,
the music, the music inside of it. But you know what I mean, like that. So creating spaces like that for camps, that's why arts in schools is so important. So that if you have that bug or you have that in you, it's 100% supported. Not supportive. That's a cool talent, but what are you gonna do for a living? But like, no. This is a career, whatever, film, art, photography, fashion, music, that's a career path. And it's maybe one of the most vital career paths in our world. And I think we've learned that really, and are seeing that after COVID and us all being so, you know, so alone for the past year. So many got through it by either making music at home or putting music online or watching music online and hearing people's stories. I know I wrote some, for the first time, started kind of writing on my own, really. I don't fully play, but at least putting my thoughts and emotions out there. So by you saying that this is a safe space to create and know that it's really supported as a career. I think that's great from a very young age. I mean, when I say I feel like I'm still waking up to the fact that, whoa, every day can be different, and the arts is really a career. Like, I'm still getting over the programming of corporate America, and you have to have a stable job. But again, we've learned nothing's stable, so you might as well do what you're passionate about. And we're supposed to create. We're not supposed to worry about anything after that. So, and we've gotten so conditioned, I mean, in a Nashville town and Music Row, and it's that, okay, that's great that you have that idea for art, but what's the plan, and how are we marketing it, and how do we get it out, and what's the vision? And that, it's so overwhelming as an artist that you almost just okay, never mind. If you can just look at your journal as a writer, if I can just take my journal and put it to music on a daily basis and not worry about what the outcome is, then that's the beauty. I wrote a song recently with a dear friend of mine whose father just passed. And the idea came to, like, not even thinking about him. The idea for this song popped in my head. And then I was like, oh, I'd like to write that with that particular friend. We did. And in my head, I saw it, again, because I thought about too soon, where is this going to go? We ended up writing it, and he's like, I'm going to sing this at my father's memorial. And I was like, right in that moment, I'm like, done. That's what that song's about, period. The healing piece is so important. I mean, I'm realizing some things I've been through in my life, that some recently, some growing up, I've been through some pretty heavy stuff. We all have. And I realized that I've dealt with it through music, not realizing it. I haven't been someone who's gone to therapy in the past. I highly recommend it now. But I didn't realize that I've used music as therapy for the past 15 years of my life. And I had a wonderful writer and producer I worked with one time. I loved what he said. One time I was like, you don't go to therapy? What? Like, you're not open to that? And he was like, yeah, I'm a songwriter. He's like, I get my stuff out in songs, and I work through it in songs. And I thought that was really powerful and promising, that can be a place you can work through stuff. I hope everybody has a form of art.
Just as a form of outlet and expression. And we're not one to take away traditional therapy practices. We're actually going to be including that at the studio. We are just a branch of it, an extension of it, an enhancement of the traditional therapy methods, where we will work alongside art therapists, music therapists, dance therapists. There's even floral therapy. I mean, there's so many worlds out there.
Florapy.
Florapy. Yeah, that's very creative. Well, we're going to be walking alongside those professionals, walk with our kids, but then work with artists who have stories like yours, or who have the time, the giftings, the talents, and the means to come in and mentor with the kids and provide that outlet for them, that they don't, like you yourself just said, they didn't know that was a form of expression. The demographic is so impressionable, especially when they're getting into that 10, 11, 12 years old, that we just see that the creative healing journey for that age on to 18 is the most impressionable during that time. And so we really want to talk about what they're seeing, whether it be in their own household. Domestic violence is on the rise because of the pandemic, and that is a scary thing to talk about. But just the pandemic itself, what it's done to kids in our world today. And we want to be able to provide just a place for them to come and be kids again. And so I know you've used music for your own healing and your therapy, and whether you know it or not, I'm always the one to tell somebody who's been on stage that your gift has helped me. Your words have helped me. I've been able to find my own healing through other people's lyrics that they've written, because I'm like, yeah, that's it. And
I'm not alone.
Yes, I'm not alone in it. And you guys might not ever realize that, or that might never be your intention when you get on stage. I know that you've been specifically out there in the world using your gifts to help others, and I would love to hear, some of the ways that you've been doing that.
I was spokesperson for a long time for a program called Highway Angel in the trucking world, which recognizes truck drivers who've saved lives out on the road. And that was a great stage for me for several years. We went out and toured and did free concerts for drivers, and it was sponsored by different trucking companies and such. But I really realized doing that, we would perform at truck stops. So I met people all over the country that didn't expect to pull. They expected to pull it and like gas up, not to get a free concert and a best friend. Because I think I'm best friends with anybody who will listen to me for a half second.
But she really is. So
truly, and like that's where, well, I mean, that's where it's just paying attention and listening to people. That's where storytelling comes from. So I mean, some of the stories of people that I heard, a lonely truck driver, to be quite honest, because they were away from their families or didn't have family, and so meeting us, our band on the road, it was a big eye-opener for me. Obviously, when you're on stage and you see somebody mouthing the lyrics to your song, there's nothing cooler than that in the whole wide world. But then hearing specifically how, like, one-on-one, take the stage out of it and just talking to a person, I mean, it's connection is vital, again, especially these days. So to me, that was really, I mean, to see big burly truck drivers coming up and saying, thanks for hearing me, you're singing songs about me, I appreciate that. But realizing that, to your point, that someone to say, I feel seen, I feel heard, and to feel like the song was just about them, because, I mean, we all go through a lot of the same things, and it's just a matter of, talking about it and putting it out there. If it's not talked about, it's taboo. And so so that was really cool. That's probably one of my first and my longest run of realizing, whoa, what I do, and be careful, because what I do can affect, on both sides. And I think people feel debilitated by the term, you alone can change the world. And I understand what that means now, I feel like, because the ripple effect, and one thing that I do that helps you heal a little, then you go out and help somebody else heal, and that's where the world changes. So that's where, bravo to you for having a passion for something. This is your art. Creating heArt Studios is your art and your gift to the world. My neighbor, I hear we have these rooftops where you can all kind of see each other on the street I live on, and I hear him blast this song. I have a song called This Is Gonna Hurt that he told me, because I don't know, unless people tell you, you don't know people are listening to your music, really. I mean, or to what extent, right? And some people are always like, oh, I don't want to go up and bother an artist, or like, who doesn't want to be told, I love you, you made a difference, you helped me? Like, tell people that all day, every day, if you can, And so he said that this song of mine got him through his divorce. That's so special. And then his dear friend on the flip side said, because he heard that song, it helped him come out as a gay man, and it gave him the strength to tell his parents. That's not either of those scenarios is not what I wrote the song about. But the chorus is, this is gonna hurt, but it's gonna be worth it. And who can identify with that?
Well, and it ties back to what you were saying earlier about you don't want to overthink the outcome, because you'll never know what it's actually gonna end up. That's a really cool tie back to just create. But I know you've been around the world, doing fun festivals for youth, for some children in Mexico. Tell me if I'm wrong in saying that. And I actually was able to jump on site with her when she did the Washington, D.C., the laying of the wreaths at Arlington Cemetery. And let me tell you about what powerful, moving, just beings are when you're standing in a field. I'll get emotional talking about it, but I just got to stand kind of on the wings and see what she was looking at from stage, but then what they were looking at from the cemetery. And it was like, there's something to be said about the universal language of music. And you get to travel and do this and just bring everybody together. And wouldn't it be amazing if the world could just come together through art, whether it be music or other avenues? And we can.
It's the good news, we can.
We can. We just need to start doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's enough of us out there advocating for it. And so I just commend you on what you've been doing for your career. You've been consistent, and just the way you've persevered to get to where you are today, to advocate for your gift, but 2, your talent, and 3, for other people is commended.
Well, that's kind. I appreciate that. I don't see it as being commended, but I appreciate that aspect. But if everybody, I mean, I've seen it as too, just trying to keep it. I mean, I'm still that little girl saying, "Daddy, Daddy, take me." I mean, truly, this isn't a daddy issue conversation.
No, she literally does. Like, watching Wheel of Fortune, she needs.
I'm constantly still. I mean, we're all just, everybody wants to be seen, and so. But you're right. I mean, I appreciate you bringing up. I forget sometimes that people care about what I'm doing. I mean, that actually sucks, because if realize that more often, I'd probably create more often. And so it's a good reminder for not only myself, but I mean, for not only children, but for myself. But, you know, to your point on I sang at the Capitol in DC, I wrote a song that they used for the lighting of the Christmas tree. The year that I did that twice, the first year that happened, I had never been to DC, first of all, at the time. Just because my parents took me to South Padre and Galveston and not historical.
Miami spring break. It's
yeah.
fine.
And so I went there and I'm singing for the lighting of the tree and the speaker of the house is there. It was this like unreal moment for me. But then from that, I was invited back to come sing for the laying of the wreaths at Arlington Cemetery. And I'll never forget this woman who was the president of the Gold Star Mothers, who was there. So they lay wreaths, they cover Arlington Cemetery, a organization called Wreaths Across America. And but they spread out to cover all the veteran cemeteries across the country around the holidays. And so this one woman said to me, she goes, "Thank you so much for being here." And I was like, I mean, are you kidding? Thank you for having, she was sitting at her son's gravesite. And I said, "Thank you for being an amazing woman and raising an amazing son who fought for us." I mean, the whole thing again is connection. But she said, you know, don't look at this as a somber event. She said, "I am so happy to know people and know there's creating out there so that people will come back. And when I'm long gone, still come visit my son, still remember my son." And that really stuck with me too, that we're all going to come and go on this earth, but the constant creation and connection is how, you know, we keep on keeping on. But that, I don't know, that really stuck with me. That was really meaningful, that she saw it as the song that we wrote, all that was way bigger than her, way bigger than her son. It was just to you know, keep us all connected. So,
and what a message to carry as an artist.
Think of any movie you've seen, or, you know, it's one person making a difference in your life that sets or one story or one studio created that, you know, think of any movie where it's like the underdog and he came out changing the world, you know, and this is that. It's one conversation, "Hey, I see you, I'm here to help you, you're not alone," that can change a path drastically one way or another. And this is definitely a path to do that, and to leave that, and to not only be there to say, "I support you and I see you," but on top of it, like, let's get your art into the world, or let's, whatever it is that you do, you love building transformers, let's do that. I don't know, is that a thing? Whatever it is that lights anybody up, like, we all are so different, yet, you know, at the core, the same. So just from being seen, it can literally change your entire course and path, and therefore change the world.
We've talked a lot about how the arts can and hopefully, prayerfully will bless those that we're able to reach in a way of healing. And you've talked a lot about your journey, and you've shared a lot about, you know, individual stories. But how has serving just blessed you?
Because it's kept me present. If you're doing things for the right reasons and you're in it and you're seeing it, you know, when we, like in Mexico each year, we put on this festival, and 100% of the proceeds benefit a school for disabled children on this island. That by serving, it keeps you present to constantly remember and see why you do what you do. And by you, I mean the universal you. That it's about love and giving back, and, you know, it fills your tank up and lights a fire as an artist too. It's not an easy path to choose art as a career. It's really hard, or we've been taught to think it's really hard, you know. But if you have that reminder that it is helping both yourself and someone else, then that's a good cheerleader to keep on doing it.
And not just in the arts, but in general, you know, serving, volunteering at your local food drive or your church, or, you know, whatever ministry you can tap into. There's something to be said about what you give, you usually get in return tenfold. And that's not selfish. That's how it's supposed to be. I think we're made to give back, and we get so much in return. And I just want to echo that out along with you to the world, to just keep doing it. And you said doing it in servitude just keeps you alive and keeps you awake, and I love that. So, Lindsay, you as a little girl, you always knew you were going to be into music, let's be honest. We've seen the pictures, we've seen the videos, we've heard the stories. And
it's pretty obnoxious.
It's great. It's great. So there's no question that you knew it going into it, that this is what you wanted to do. And then you worked really hard to pave that path for yourself. And I know there's somebody out there that might watch this or watch this down the road, and they're just wanting to maybe dabble into the music industry or the creative industry. And I'm curious to know, what would you tell them? Think about yourself at a really young age. What would you have liked to hear?
I would say, and we talked about this a little earlier, but just to create, just do it. Just follow your heart and soul. It sounds basic. Like anytime if a cliche ever resonates with you, it's for a reason, because it's legit, you know? And if you're drawn, like, go where the heart leads. If you're drawn to write a song, write a song. I mean, they say everybody should write a book, and I believe that too, even if it's just for you. But I think everyone should write a song. Even if it's in by yourself in the bathroom, whatever it takes, because we all have a story to tell. And I just, that's the best piece of advice or encouragement I could give, because what if Justin Timberlake wasn't told you can do it? Like, we may not have a Justin Timberlake. Can you imagine a world without a Justin Timberlake? But it's true. If you want to make music for a living, you can. And that's another really cool thing now that I don't think used to be the case, that it had to be like, you know, maybe music was a side gig unless you were a superstar, or like music is a career now, and it doesn't matter what level. If you are making a dime making music, it's a career. So I think that's a really cool thing to remember, that it doesn't matter what level is on. And if you don't, again, not worried about the outcome, if you just worry on creating, the outcome will be there. I always pray this or something better, because we can't begin to imagine how amazing life could be. I would never imagine this life for me, but it's hard, but it's way better than what I would have thought of, you know? So just do it. Just keep creating. The world needs you. Don't let anything discourage you. Again, I know that sounds basic, but I wish I would have been told that.
But I know your outcome doesn't have to look like somebody else's outcome.
Yeah.
And what they envision for you. And that's why I think music is so successful, even if you just write a song in your bathroom.
Yeah.
And that's the message we want to share. You're such a good storyteller. I could sit here for hours. I could sit here for days. And I know the people out there would love to hear more. And maybe we'll do a part 2 version of this, so we can hear a little bit more about those honky tonk days. But in general, our goal is to be able to be that safe space for kids to share their stories. And that's why we're doing this week, where we're visiting with artists like Lindsay and just hearing their stories. How did they get from where they were to where they are today? And we would love for you to tune in. We're going to do, different videos throughout each day. And so we'll be posting them from heArt Studios platform on Instagram and Facebook. So check in with us more throughout the week. But Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time to just share some of the little bit about what makes up Lindsay, but also for your heart and being on the board. We would not be able to be here without you. And so thank you so much.
I'm honored. It's great. And I'm really excited to introduce some of my musical friends throughout this process as well, because that's another thing. I'm blessed to continually surround myself with creative people who also have a heart for making music and creating for the greater good. So yeah, it'll be a fun journey.
That's definitely one of the goals of doing these little videos, is to actually tap into the artist communities and say, hey, are you out there? Does this mission speak to you? Do you want to help us? Reach out, shoot us an email or DM us. Text her. I'm gonna shoot up her phone number at the end of this. You can
555, call me.
No, but seriously, in any realm, if you are creative in any way, are you a pastry chef? Are you a auto mechanic? Are you a sculptor? If you're out there and you use your right side of your brain, you're a creator. We'd love to hear from you. But also, we are currently just heads down fundraising to find that space here in Nashville, and it is at no easy feat. And so if you're out there and you're listening and you know somebody, or you're in a place yourself where you're able to financially give, definitely check out our website at heartstudios.org, where you can donate right there or get in touch with us to share with how you're able to support. And we will be specifically building out 8 studios, and each of those studios will have an opportunity to sponsor, to outfit. So if you're thinking of like the fashion design studio, do you work for a sewing machine company that can fit us for sewing machines or fabric, or just, completely put your name on that studio? We have opportunities like that as well. So
I know a lot of people that maybe don't have from what they think a music or art piece in them, but still want to be involved with it. That's a lot of sponsors I work with. They're like, I'm not musical, but I sure want to be involved in music and the arts and to give back. So, or maybe you have a rich uncle.
Lindsay, thanks again, and thank y'all for tuning in.